them. One of the latter is Republican Governor Larry Hogan of Maryland, and we welcome him now to Balance of Power. So, Governor, thank you so much for joining us. As I say, you've distinguished yourself from some others, including some other governors, in saying, you know what, we should welcome the Afghan refugees. Tell us your thinking.
Well, look, we're focused on our state of Maryland is, I think, the fourth most in the country as far as taking in these SIVs, these special immigrant visas. And many of them, for years, we've been taking in from Afghanistan. We've had some come in over the past few weeks. More came in yesterday. And look, these are allies that we made a commitment to, that we gave them their word, and that served beside us as interpreters and served in other capacities, assisting the U.S. military and our embassy. And, we gave them our word, and we promised them that we were going to, we've got to first get all of our Americans out, which we haven't done a very good job at, but we've also got to get out those allies who are standing beside us, because it's the right thing to do, and it's a commitment that we made.
From what you know, Governor, are you fairly confident of the screening that's being put into place as some of these people come out of Afghanistan to make sure that they are in the category you just described and may not be some bad actors?
Well, that's something I think we're all concerned about. We've had discussions with the State Department about that. There's a little bit of fog of war, and processing thousands of people. I want to make sure that we're getting the Americans and our actual allies who hold these. They actually hold visas. They're not just refugees. They have special immigrant visas because they worked with us, and that was the deal that they made. But I think it's possible that they could be. People, they're packing those planes. They're not doing the screening in Afghanistan, but they're going out to, I think, 13 different countries and doing some of the screening, and then I believe bringing them into 4 different military locations around the United States to do that processing before they're actually sent out to the states, which when we get notified after they've been processed, after they've been vetted, and when they make a determination that they're going to send some to our state. And we're happy to do our part for these allies that deserve it.
How many have made it to Maryland thus far, and do you have any sense of how big the number could get to be?
It's a relatively small number so far. I think just over 100 or so, and we got 12 in yesterday. I really can't speak to. There's not been a lot of communication from the State Department. I think it's a little bit of confusion both in Afghanistan and here as to what the numbers are and how many of them and what the timeframes will be.
So one of the reasons I think people are concerned about it is, of course, COVID. We're worried about people coming from anywhere outside the country or outside the state, for that matter. Give us an update on where Maryland stands on COVID right now. I know that your cases were coming back up, although I think your positivity rate is coming back down again. Is it not?
Well, we've got the second lowest case rate and second lowest positivity rate in America because we've been taking every precaution over the past 18 months. We have vaccinated more than 80% of our adult population, 18 and over. We've vaccinated just under 95% of our population, 65 and up. So we're one of the most vaccinated states in America with one of the lowest case rates. We did have a slight increase from where we were at our very low numbers. It's starting to level off. We are still concerned about this Delta variant and the fact that it's hitting some younger folks, and that it's in some cases people are still getting the virus even though they're fully vaccinated. But nearly all of our hospitalizations are folks that are unvaccinated, and all of our deaths, sadly, are the same. So we're still fighting it every day and watching the numbers and listening to the experts. But we've had 15 straight months of job growth. We've had our economy fully reopened since last July. More than a year ago, have one of the best economic recoveries in the country and also one of the best COVID recoveries. So we're going to hope that we can continue to do that and not experience some of the problems that are happening in other states where they're not vaccinating a larger number of people and they have overflowing hospitals.
So, Governor, I suspect there are a lot of people listening to this who say, okay, high vaccination rate, a low number of cases, that sounds pretty good. So how did you do it? Could people go to school on you?
Yeah, well, our schools are, some of them are opened just last week. Some are opening next week and the following week across the state. Different school districts make different decisions, but we're going to have all of our kids back in school. We've had all of our businesses completely open. But we have had, and we don't have a statewide mask mandate. We used to, and we lifted that earlier in the summer. But we are still strongly recommending, the use of masks, especially if you're indoors and you're unvaccinated and you're in close contact with people. It's people are following the advice. Even though we don't have a mandate, we're the fifth highest mask usage of any state in the country. So people are being safe. They're getting vaccinated. They're trying to stay out of harm's way. But in spite of that, as you mentioned, we're seeing some increases, and we're still getting people sick. And sadly, we still have people going in the hospital. It's just at much smaller numbers.
So no mask mandate, but also no mask prohibition. We have some governors who are prohibiting masks, such as Mr. DeSantis down in Florida. Is that just Florida's a different state from Maryland because it's in a different place, or do you respectfully disagree with his approach?
Well, I respectfully disagree. I don't usually wade into Florida politics, but Florida and Texas right now are responsible for 40% of all the new hospitalizations in America. They got overflowing hospitals. They're at the peak of the virus. We're about 90% down from our peak last year. In many cases, 70% in other stats. They are at the very peak of this. And, I understand the folks saying they don't want to mandate that people have to do this and have to do that, but they're mandating that people can't do it, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's duly elected local school boards that do have the power to make those decisions for themselves. There's businesses that should be able to make their own decisions. I mean, they talk a lot about freedom and not wanting mandates, but they're mandating that businesses and schools and local governments do exactly what they tell them. And to me, it's kind of a basic, traditional, conservative Republican principle that you want the local government at the lowest level making those decisions where they're on the ground closest to the people.
Pfizer and BioNTech made news just today saying that they're seeking now authorization from the FDA for a booster shot for people who have already been fully vaccinated. If, in fact, they get that approval, are you staffed up in Maryland to administer booster shots to people who are already vaccinated?
We've already begun. I think we're up to close to 10,000 booster shots already completed. They already approved it for people who are immunocompromised, the people that have had certain cancers and people that have done transplants and people that are, really in need of that booster. We're doing antibody studies. We may be the only state to do that in all of our nursing homes to try to test the efficacy of the vaccines after, 5, 6, 7, 8 months. We're going to share that information with the federal government, but we want to get approval to be able to do our more vulnerable populations. We hope that they'll do that soon, folks in nursing homes, because no question that the federal government has said after 8 months, you start to lose you don't keep all of the antibodies. It doesn't have as strong of effectiveness. And we're seeing in some cases the numbers are closer to 6 months. And so we're pushing. I'm in Denver today with the National Governors Association. We'll be meeting with Jeff Zients, the head of the coronavirus White House task force, with a handful of governors here, and we'll be talking about these issues further. But we're all ready in our state. We're prepared to get the boosters done. And in fact, I actually had cancer of the immune system, and my oncologist and our health folks recommended I already have my booster, along with 10,000 other people in the state.
So, Governor, you mentioned the strength of the Maryland economy and how you're coming back. The federal government's been giving a fair amount of help to the states and to the economy overall. Now, we have a new proposal. We got an infrastructure proposal that looks like it may well pass. About $550 billion in new money. And then there's this up to $3.5 trillion in the budget resolution. A lot of details we filled in. Give us a sense of what that might do, the so-called reconciliation for the state of Maryland.
Yeah, well, there has been a lot of, stimulus money and a lot of assists throughout the pandemic. And, I'm concerned that we put a lot of money out there. It has helped a lot of people, a lot of businesses, and state and local governments get through the worst of the pandemic. But look, I've been very involved in the infrastructure fight. I was chairman of the National Governors Association. I led a year-long infrastructure initiative, which became the basis of the compromise bill that is now passed the Senate and is we're hopefully going to get passed through the House, because America's got crumbling infrastructure. We can create a lot of jobs and take care of things that have been kicked down the road for decades. And we reached a bipartisan compromise. I brought together Republican and Democratic governors, senators, and House members, and we hammered out this common sense negotiated solution, which President Biden got on board with and which we passed through the Senate. And it's a tremendous accomplishment, not only because of the infrastructure that I think we all need, but also just kind of showing that Washington isn't broken, that people can actually sit down and work together. The problem is now you have the far left of the Democratic Party in the House saying, no, we're not going to do the compromised infrastructure unless we get every single thing we wanted originally in it that we already negotiated out, which is another $3.5 trillion of spending that has nothing to do with infrastructure. And that doesn't have a single Republican vote. And they're going to try to jam that through with reconciliation. So, I know Joe Biden said that he wanted to work in a bipartisan way, and we were pleased that it seemed to be we were making progress in that direction. But now he's not standing up to Pelosi and AOC in the House and telling them just pass my bipartisan bill and don't hold it hostage and don't demand that you need another $3.5 trillion in spending before you'll agree to the thing that I said was my most important accomplishment.
Besides the prospects of maybe borrowing money, which is not altogether pleasant, there's also some concern from some economists about inflation as we continue to pump money into it. Give us a sense in Maryland, on the ground, are you starting to see prices rise, and where?
Yeah, we are starting to see it, and I think people are concerned about rising prices, both consumers who are there's a lack of supplies and then increasing prices and a shortage in the labor market, but we're seeing it all over the place. I mean, and the real estate market is shooting through the roof. Almost every commodity out there is the prices are going up, and we're very concerned about all this money being pumped into the economy. We add another $3.5 trillion to it. I don't know how we ever get out of that mess.
Okay, thank you so much, Governor, for spending so much of your time with us today. That is Republican Governor Larry Hogan of the state of Maryland.